We're gonna have a test coming up. We're gonna do short ID on Teams, so you have to type them. I'll give you enough time. Remember to bring your laptop. Not that big of a deal. And most of you have a laptop, or have you bring your laptop every day, probably. Some classes you need it. Yeah. I don't know the exact day. I'm gonna try to get it by either Thursday of next week, if not by Tuesday of the week. But I'm gonna give the review list with enough time we have time to look at. So, we're gonna come to the last little bit. We got the anarchists, right? Is that what we got? Did we get the anarchists? Oh, we didn't get the anarchists, so let's get the anarchists right now. So we gotta get going. Going to bet every your grade and all your classes on this. Don't learn nothing. I'm not stuck on it. Is this where we would put? We got that workers, proto means of production. We got Marx. So we here.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, right there. Did I show you this picture?
Oh, yeah. That was a one.
Yeah, so that's the thing about communists. Socialists ate themselves essentially because they so bitterly despised each other. The moderate socialists hated the communists, and they all hated, and the feeling was mutual, the anarchists. Anarchism is another form of socialism. And I know what you might be thinking, wait a minute, they all want better working conditions and equal rights, but they had such a disagreement on how they would get there. But anarchists, they believe that the system is inherently corrupt. Capitalism is corrupt partially because it creates these hierarchies. Remember, they despise social Darwinism. So all hierarchy is a class. Even, let's say, the leadership, the small little cadre running the what's called the Bolshevik Party. Pretty soon it's going to happen in the Soviet Union. That little leadership is a class. So you can't have leadership. The idea would be for individuals to decide their own fate and come up communally or democratically to come up with solutions. Yeah. This era. Yeah, we're coming literally right to it. Because think about the things that communism, socialism, anarchism wants. 8-hour workday, better working conditions, weekends, vacations, workers' compensation insurance, an old age pension for when you're too old to work, but too young to die. All those things, that's what they want. So we're literally in this era right now. Yes. Working class get what? How did they feel about it, or when did they get it?
Yeah.
See, the thing about it is most working class people, they probably didn't do, they wanted the 8-hour workday. And they wanted those things. But most people, they don't necessarily want, like, they're not going to be true believers in like this socialist paradise. They just want a better life. And so that's going to be one of the problems that these socialists or the anarchists would have. They want true believers. And most people just they want to be secure in their life. And so that's why modern socialists might actually have a better opportunity, because they're going to focus on the things that the better life issue. So let's get back to the anarchists. So what they thought is we got to blow up the existing order and create this perfect socialist world. Now, blowing up could be politically, new constitution, throw out the old order, or literally, excuse me, blow it up. The most famous American anarchist was Emma Goldman. That's her picture right there. She was a Russian immigrant, naturalized U.S. citizen, and she thought there could be a peaceful revolution. Now, let's be clear, it's going to be a revolution, but a peaceful one. And you notice how her dress and her face, how she looks? She's definitely trying to look more manly, because men, the social order, and the way men were treated because they called it domesticity. She's a very controversial figure, demanding equal rights for all workers, equal rights based upon color, skin, or sex. But then we have a good hunk of the anarchists believe they're never going to give it up. And the only way to blow it up is to blow it up. They call it propaganda of deed or revolutionary terrorism. An individual or tiny little group, remember, they can't have leadership because all hierarchy is a class, commit terrorist attacks. And there's going to be terrorist attacks all over the world. Thousands of them. Attempted assassinations, real assassinations, bombings, everywhere, including the United States. Now, the thought was to show the world, this government, this system is so unstable, it can't even protect their leaders or yourself. To lead to such instability that it blows up and perfect socialism is going to come out of the ruins. Which is actually kind of amazing. You blow up the old order and perfection is going to come? Really? But anyways, that was the feeling of it. But I should add, anarchists don't want anarchy as the result. An anarchist is not saying, let's blow everything up because I want to blow everything up. If somebody says, anarchists, oh, blow it up. If you see them or meet somebody who's saying that, run away in fear. They're a lunatic and or psychopath. They have a goal, even though their solution to this goal might be a little bit shaky. And you can imagine how anti-immigrant nativists would feel. They could say, look what happens when we allow these radicals, these alien terrorists in, like Emma Goldman, who was an immigrant from Russia, a naturalized citizen. Thus, another argument against immigrants, against nativism, against especially Southern and Eastern immigrants. So here's, come unto me, ye oppressed. So that is on the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, who is being allowed in? Those European anarchists, and the symbol of it, this cartoonish bomb, with the fuse. Are we going to allow these dangerous people in? Look how many times they say that today about dangerous aliens coming in. Yes. So let's see. Yeah. Seems like one of the shows inside. Were they all what? We're coming to it. You're leading to exactly what's going to come. Because they all have a similar goal of what they want. They have a different solution on how to get there. So think about some of these terrorist attacks that are going to happen. So this is paintings of them, or from a French, basically a news magazine. And here is a bombing in the Spanish Parliament. Here's a bombing in an opera house in Paris, because you know what type of people go to operas, can afford it. Here's the murder of the Spanish king. Here's the Tsar of Russia, an anarchist literally threw a bomb under his carriage and blew him in half. His lower torso was blown off, and Tsar Alexander II actually lived for about 8 hours like that, in and out of consciousness. I have no idea how, but this spectacular act of terrorism. And in the middle, anybody know what that is? Yeah.
Obvious assassination of
Yeah. The assassination of the President of the United States, William McKinley, by an anarchist in 1901. There's going to be attacks all over. In fact, there was a real feeling that this anarchist attack will eventually lead to, they started saying going into the 1900s, the apocalypse is coming. And it will be this class conflict. It's coming. It's coming. Ironically, the apocalypse came, but it wasn't a class conflict. It's nationalism and empire. But think about what a great way to discredit ideas like an 8-hour working day. What a great way to discredit things like having a weekend, or having workers' compensation insurance, or having equal rights, by claiming anybody who wants those are really radical and not just anarchists. What type of anarchists? You got to add something to make it a bit more scary. Yeah. Terrorists. That word wasn't really used that much, yeah? Not yet. Bomb throwing anarchists. That's what they would say. Just add them together. It's 3 words. Bomb throwing anarchists. Bomb throwing anarchists. Bomb throwing anarchists. Bomb throwing anarchists. You want an 8-hour working day? You're actually a bomb throwing anarchist. O'Connor was right about it. That's exactly what's going to happen. But this should be familiar. Remember moderate free soilers? What did they call them in the South? You're a John Brown coming to cut throw in the middle of the night. What? You want old age pension, which we call today Social Security? You want an old age pension? You're going to blow me up with a bomb, aren't you? And so this would be used by capitalists. Very effective as propaganda to discredit labor unions. Labor unions are bomb throwing anarchists. What if you want civil rights? Bomb throwing anarchists. Women's rights? Bomb throwing anarchists. In 1919, there will be an absolute hysteria about this socialist threat going to be called the Red Scare. But in 1919, it will no longer be fear of anarchists. It will change because the communist revolution, communists known as Bolsheviks, took over the Soviet Union. So now it's going to be fear of communists. But that won't be until about 1919. Before it was anarchists. And there are anarchist attacks all over. The governor of Idaho was blowing up our anarchist bomb, mail bomb. I mean, it happened all over. There were anarchist attacks across the Montana. Butte, there were a bunch of them. Dropping bombs into mine shafts to try to slow down production of mines. Recognize our union kind of thing. Why Red Scare? Okay, so years ago, many years ago, somebody gave me that Soviet flag. Soviet Union died in 1991. And it's red. Anybody know why it's red? That's what we call Bolsheviks, anarchists, communists, Reds. 1870, 1871 in Paris. There was an attempt by socialists and communists to set up a government in Paris. They called it the Paris Communists. And they adopted the color. And this goes back to their reading of what happened in the year of Revolution, 1848. They're going to carry on the legacy of the patriots who died before. So red for the color of the patriots' blood who want to bring a better world for all of us. Right. That's what. That's the Red Scare. Anarchists are going to adopt black into the 20th century because they hated socialists. They were socialists too, but they hated the other socialists so much. Yeah. This what?
Ted Bundy.
Oh, Ted Bundy? Oh, no.
Sorry,
No.
not Ted Bundy.
Oh, Ted Kaczynski, yeah, he had elements of Ted Bundy. No way they're wrong. I go, where's your back?
No.
Kaczynski, yeah, he had an element of anarchist too, but he was a silent. And let's be clear, someone could spew all this stuff about one philosophy or something else. They could just be a silent. Just I'm warning you, not hear all this. It was a big. He started pointing at people, and that's exactly what I said. No. Now, so here's another one. Put them and keep them out. Civilization, and it's anarchist and brotherhood. Very clear. But we say the same stuff, nativism now. Those terrorists are coming across the border. So I put that in there to show you how this is going to be used a little bit later on. Purely made up communist training school, pamphlets sent out from Martin Luther King as communist training school. Because he became kind of the most vocal spokesman for equal rights after 1956. And pure made up garbage. Made up garbage. This is actually a Baptist seminary training, but they said it's communist training. To discredit the civil rights movement. They did the same thing about the women's rights movement. My favorite is when they call they're both they're communist fascists. That's when I really enjoy. Because they're total opposite points of view. Because it's just names to throw stuff out until something hits a discredit. So the point is, it still goes on to this stuff. So back to this. So let's get into real life. We've gone through all these events that happened. We've gone through the innovation, the new economic systems, corporations, trust, monopolies, social Darwinism, communism, and socialism. Well, let's get back to the time. The Civil War has ended. Reconstruction is still going on, the West expansion. You have this economic boom, but it's really kind of slow and very unequal. Partially because the Civil War is over, government quit buying all this stuff. But in 1873, a horrific panic happened. And this was a cataclysm. Now, there have been economic panics since the beginning of capitalism, 1819, 1837, and maybe just the big one, 1857. But now, 1873. And what we have, overproduction. Overproduction meant overvalued, overspeculation. Jumped the gun. Overspeculation. People were buying and selling this new thing called, what is a little piece of a corporation called? Stocks. And people are like, oh, this is great. An investment in different products, but also whenever there's any kind of booming economy, there's a real estate bubble. Always, always, always. So there's a bubble. That means the prices are growing and people are buying more and more. So demand is high, but the prices are greater than their actual value, meaning there's just air underneath. And the prices can tumble very quickly. But its idea is we're all getting rich. Let's buy new stock in the Santa Fe Railroad. At the same time, there's overproduction. I have no idea why I wrote railroads twice, but I did. I think I'm thinking steel, and I just wasn't really paying attention. But all the products make railroads. But they started building tracks all over the Northeast. Speculators trying to build more railroad tracks in the South, and they outgrew production. Prices began to tumble. Profits began to drop. But then one more thing happened. During the Civil War, they printed greenbacks, currency. Well, in 1873, they got rid of all those greenbacks at once with the Coinage Act of 1873 and went on the gold standard. So all this currency that was floating around since the Civil War, they said was no longer valid. Well, there's not that much money backed by gold in the economy. Can you imagine what that did to the economy? Overnight, prices tumbled. Overnight. And what happened to the value of money all of a sudden if there's not that much in circulation? What do we call this? The bubble burst, prices dropped. Overproduction, prices dropped. Coinage Act, prices dropped. Deflation. Just massive inflation. Now the economy already had real problems because of the overspeculation and production or oversupply. But then the Coinage Act with the last trade. And once we had deflation, prices tumbled, profits tumbled. People who borrowed money for railroads or borrowed money for speculation couldn't pay back their debts. Banks shut their doors. This was an economic catastrophe. Here's the financial disaster in 1873. That's people trying to get their deposits out of a bank that has shut their doors. And that triggered a worldwide depression. Worldwide, because more countries than ever before, you're starting capitalism, you're starting to have more international trade, and you're going to have investment across borders. For example, the new German Empire, created in 1871, capitalism was hitting it by storm and it crashed. In fact, this led to real fears of revolution and the breakup of this new empire. This was worldwide. And the thing about a panic is this. The bank panic. You have all these banks loaning money for the bubble. They're getting interest, but all of a sudden people aren't going to be able to pay back their debts. But where did banks get their money, especially back then? Where did banks get their money to loan? They can borrow from other banks. But they also get it from where? Yeah. From you? So Ryan gave all this deposits. Your banks want you, they tell you, you can keep your money safe here, better than under your mattress. You can secure your deposits here. Put your money in here. We'll even give you a little bit of interest if you keep your money in there. So basically, the banks are borrowing the money from you. The money. And then what do they do with that money immediately? They loan it out. They don't keep your money. They loan it out. So you're on a little piece of paper saying, we owe you this. But, yeah. FDIC, new deal. 1932.
So that's no.
Yeah.
There wasn't any.
Yeah, and yeah, that was I mean, Franklin Roosevelt's new deal. And that FDIC, the insurance on banks, saved us from absolute complete ruin in 2000. Your lifetime. But back to this. So you put your deposit in and they get that money immediately loaned. So they don't have your money. And they're hoping all the depositors don't come at once. Make sense? So what happens if you put money in bank A? And this bank shuts its doors. All of a sudden, people don't pay back their debts, like, we're done, and they shut their doors. What happens to your deposits? Literally. It's not like someone else has your money, it's just gone. Because it was all on paper, because they loaned it out. That also means the size of the economy shrunk a little bit. If it happens on a wide scale, it shrinks a lot. Just, it's gone. Everything you thought you had is gone. So, let's say all of us in here, we put our money in Bank B. And Bank B's doing fine. Of course, at least they tell us they're doing fine, right? Well, let's say you saw Bank A shut their doors. What's your first thought? Ah, we're fine. No, what are you thinking? And banks are shutting down all over. Pull your money out. If you do it alone, fine. But if we all do it at once, what happens to Bank B? Even healthy banks can go into banks. Even healthy banks. Yeah, we'll get to FDIC. That's huge. And so, look what happened in 1873. Massive increase of bank payments. But this is the scary thing about this financial panic leading to what we call a depression. 4 years later, would be the worst years. 1929 was the financial crash during the Great Depression, October 1929. The worst year, the worst time, the winter of 32-33. That's the worst time. That's when it looked like the whole society was going to break. That was the worst. As in, we came within, frankly, we came within another couple months of that, and no United States left. At least the United States as we know it. It was that close. And it looked like it might happen here. So, 18,000 businesses approximately shut their doors. So all of a sudden you have people that are making money now not making money. Unemployment, these are estimates, 20%. We don't know exact unemployment. It's hard to figure it out today. And how do you measure farmers? You know, it's really complex. Sharecroppers, how do you measure that? This is part of the great upheaval in 1877. So all of a sudden people aren't spending money. Demand tanks. So companies have to lay off workers. More and more layoffs. And it's a bad cycle. And soon you start having the real problem. Wages begin to drop, profits begin to drop. People can't pay back their loans, more banks shut their doors. That's why. First initial panic, banks shut their doors. After a couple years of no demand, the next big shock. The worst year of bank failures during the Great Depression, 32. 3 years after the start of the Great Depression, actually 4 years after the start of the recession. This is worldwide. This affected everybody. This was such a shock. And arguably, this lasted the rest of the decade, maybe well into the 1880s. These kind of financial panics with depression just don't end easily. They don't end. It's really hard to end them. So, after 3 years of hell, going into 1877, wages were dropping. Even companies that were making money were cutting wages. The B&O Railroad, the Baltimore and Ohio, one of the big, they called it a trunk line. They gave the third pay cut to their workers in a year. Now they're making money, but they cut pay because there's so much unemployment. They're telling their workers, you complain, there are 1,000 people take your job like that. So if their profits are dropping, they try to make the difference up by cutting wages. And no one's hiring, so what can the workers do? Hey, if there's times of high unemployment, wages drop. So it started out in Wheeling, West Virginia, right here. But then spread into Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. So that's why I have Pennsylvania. Now, the main line of the B&O Railroad went down the coast. Then they had a line go through Pennsylvania into Wheeling, West Virginia, and then the St. Louis and Chicago. Here's the main line. So what started in Wheeling, went down the line to Pittsburgh. Well, the governor of Pennsylvania did what they always did. They sent out the militia to crush the union and force them to take the wages. But think about militia. These are part-time soldiers and the privates, the enlisted men, the bulk of the militia. What kind of people are they? They're just like the workers. During the strike, and this wasn't an organized strike, they literally just kind of went on the track and shut down the trains. You're not gonna move. So if we take another pay cut, we're gonna starve. We'll be kicked out of our homes. And if we take it today, we'll do it again tomorrow. And keep doing it, keep doing it. These are scared people, and either they literally are short of food and shelter, or they think they will be, which is just scary. Think about the militia. They're people in the same boat. And think about it. I mean, you imagine what they're thinking. If I fire on these workers and force them to take this lower pay, might I be making it easier for my employer to cut my pay? I'm actually helping them. So what did the militia do in Pittsburgh? They joined them. Yeah, I've already told you 2 times that has happened. You remember the 2 rebellions? Yep, Shays and Bacon. Shays and Bacon. Did you hear that restaurants are now charging a premium of $3 to $5 for each egg you order for breakfast? That's how much egg prices have gone up in the last 2 weeks. Wow. That's kind of amazing, isn't it? Bird flu. So, but once this happened, you can imagine what's going to happen. Right along the rail lines, the strike spread nationwide. And people who weren't railroad workers joined. And I put down strike, but in quotes because it wasn't organized. They just went out and said, we're not going to take it anymore. You are cheating us. We were veterans of the Civil War, where people will work hard. We never did anything wrong. We paid our dues. And now we're losing our job. Now we're having our pay cut. Now we are terrified for the future. The system is rigged, and they were furious. And up and down the railroad line, and soon they cut off the railroads all over the northern United States. Basically from Minnesota to New York, where most of the railroads were cut off. The workers showed they have real power. All this, we see the strikes all the way through. And workers started taking over city governments. In St. Louis, workers formed their own workers' commune. And they said the banks will no longer be allowed to foreclose on people, so they'll be kicked out of their homes, or renters can't be kicked out of their homes if they can't afford it. They demanded that bakeries start setting up cheaper food for people and not overcharge. They even made a flag for the city government, the new city government. And it was a loaf of bread embroidered on a flag with a sword through it. So these people aren't revolutionaries per se. What are they? If they have a flag with bread on it, what are they? Huh? Say it again. Yeah, scared and hungry. I'm scared they will be hungry down the road. What color is the flag? Red. Now, the government's going to be short-lived, but also shows you something about revolution. Most people aren't necessarily radicals. If they revolt, they're hungry. So if you want to form your totalitarian dictatorship, what's the first thing you do? Make sure people have enough food, at least a little bit of food. What's the other thing? Make sure they don't pay attention to what's going around them. If you can find something where they have like a screen. So they're always just staring at a screen. They just can't help it. They got to look at a screen and not really pay attention to what's going around them. You can control them, make them do anything. I'm not really picking anything in particular. I'm just kind of throwing ideas out. That's true. So this turned into, they used to say about television. Now we have all kinds of different things. What do we have? The Great Upheaval. And this was a class war. And it spread throughout one of the biggest class rebellions. And governors told President Hayes, we can't do anything about it. So he sent out federal troops. Kind of unconstitutional. Sent out federal troops to stop it. Not sent in federal troop. I forgot the S. Federal troops. Reconstruction just ended, remember? A lot of these troops, black. And they use it. The strikes, they know they're a majority white. workers, they sent out black troops. So they wouldn't join together. They would divide them with races. And so they would be mad at each other and not join together, and so the strike would be put down. The militia, they were very close. Here they're not. And for the rest of the century, into the next century, black soldiers would be recruited in the United States Army in segregated units for this reason, to put down strikes. So wherever there's an area threatened of strikes, there would be a black regiment. For example, in Colorado, black regiments. Zula, black regiments to put down white miners. Racism to divide. What rebellion is this like? What rebellion did they put in the slave codes to divide peoples? Like, just like pagans. Just like pagans. And the militia unorganized, right after this happened, when it was put down with over 300 people killed. They got rid of everything and turned it into a nice mountain valley. And in this valley, what came out, how do I do this? Everybody write down the National Guard. The National Guard was created. And the National Guard according to the Article 1 of the Constitution, the U.S. government, Congress creates a National Guard and trains them. The Second Amendment says it will be controlled by states. So they created an organized National Guard that will be trained and equipped, not just people kind of with whatever surplus equipment they have. The National Guard is trained by the United States government. So if you join the Army National Guard in the state of Montana, you go to basic training, and it is by the regular Army. That's where you go to training. Same thing with the Air National Guard or whatever it might be. And even though, according to the Second Amendment, we're for the states, but they can be federalized and taken over by the national government. So that is why, for example, when the United States invaded Iraq, or what happened in Afghanistan, so many National Guardsmen from Montana were federalized and sent there. And it was created because of this. And the number one reason was to not have another one of these, to keep the peace and stop internal rebellion, the National Guard. And it showed the power of labor. If labor organized, they have real power. You got to listen to workers. So you can imagine the point of view of the capitalists. Oh my God, we cannot allow the unification of workers together. They can't unify. They can't organize. No unification. Anti-union was already there, but wow, is it going to be there? It's no coincidence. Bomb-throwing anarchists will be thrown out by propaganda all the time. It also showed this capitalism is not the same. It's a new economy. Those previous busts are not aberrations. It is built into the system. Going to be called the business cycle or the boom-bust cycle. The business or boom-bust cycle. And you'll notice this picture, and it shows U.S. cavalry attacking workers. And many of these are veterans of the Civil War, but they show them as white. They didn't put that in the paper. What really happened? Boy, the business cycle, I wonder if that could be an important thing. Could that be something you have to recreate on the test? Let me show you the business cycle. We're going to make a drawing. You need a little bit of room. I'm going to draw you the business cycle. This is some real economics here. So you're going to make a picture, a diagram, and on top, we're sticking with purple. You like purple for business cycle? Also, I might call it the boom bust cycle. I don't even realize I'm doing it. And this is endemic in capitalism. It's built in, or it's baked into the pie. You like pie or cake? Would you rather have cake or pie? Who wants cake? Raise your hand. Who wants pie? Who doesn't like either? You don't like either? What's wrong with you? What do you like? That's cake. Put your head down. Thank you. Stocks. Boom. I got to be honest with you. I like pie, but I actually like cake. I like cake a little better. I like pie, but boom, and down here is bust. So it's gonna be a loop around. There's a bunch of things I have. Now, what's a boom? A boom are these things. I'm gonna put down basic things and you're gonna tell me, are they gonna go up or down in a boom? Very basic. I don't think you guys have any trouble with this. Let's see if we can do it. All right. So in a boom, what is happening to profits? Up, right? What's happening to production, AKA supply? Up or down? Yeah, you can imagine what's gonna happen. Oh my goodness, everyone's making money. I better expand, make more money. Or I'm gonna roll the die into the market and make my own company. Something like that. Or whatever it might be. You're producing goods, producing a service, whatever it could be. I'll never forget in 2003, 2004, when the country began to emerge from that early recession of the decade, and all of a sudden, all over Helena, coffee shops appeared. All these little tiny coffee shops all over town. 30 of them. You know, there's a few left. Now it's kind of the overproduction. Everyone's like, we're making money, and everyone loves coffee. What's happening to, I'm jumping this under production, profits, wages? Up or down? Up. Why? What's happening to unemployment? Up or down? Unemployment. There's less workers, so companies are bargaining. Companies have to bargain with workers, so workers can negotiate higher wages. It doesn't always work like that, but that's kind of what happens. Missing something. What am I missing? I'm moving on. Credit. Are banks more or less willing to loan money? More? Yeah. Banks are loaning to everybody. They're making loans that might seem risky in a normal time, but in the boom, it's like, we're all making money. Let's do it. They're competing with each other to loan money. Because the idea is tomorrow's going to be better, right? So let's loan today. So banks are really, it's called easy credit. Just loaning money like mad. Like a really good time, all of a sudden everybody starts getting credit card applications. Speculation. Are people speculating more or less? A lot more. Hey, we're all making money. Let's go. Let's do it. You're a fool not to. And lastly, what is the mood of the people? Absolutely crazy optimism. Almost a euphoria. The boom is going to go on. We're all making money. You're a fool not to borrow money and buy land, borrow money and buy stock, or borrow money to buy credit default swaps. Yeah, naming financial instruments. They go in your head. These little bonds that people can make. Same thing with like today. There's going to be euphoria by cryptocurrency, and it's just purely speculation, just pure tool of speculation. And so we buy them now, they're going to go up because they're always going to go up. And this is the big thing. Just catch that word. How long do people think a boom is going to go on? Forever. And everyone got that? It's the mood. It'll go on forever. We're all going to make money forever. I can't emphasize this enough. Forever, forever, forever. We're going to make money, money, money. It's going to go on forever. I remember in the 1990s, they called it the tech boom. And people were saying they've invented a new economy. It will never crash again. We figured it out. I remember in 2004, 2005, real estate prices will never go down. It's going to be the boom will go on forever. Yeah, those of you who've read ahead in history know how crazy that was. And anybody would say, wait a second, bubbles always burst. Not this time. You're a Pollyanna. Warning of the future, you're wrong. The sky's not falling. We're all going to get rich and you're an idiot. They would say the same was, and I'll mention this again, from 1870s all the way through the Great Depression. It was pick those apples off those trees. Pick the apple today. Best today, because tomorrow what will be on the tree? More apples! We're going to get rich. You're a fool not to invest. So, what's the beginning of the downfall? Every time there's overproduction. So, everyone's thinking we're making money. The other term is oversupply. Got that? Oversupply. There's oversupply, overproduction. They're producing more. And what happens is every time there's overproduction, like we're all making money, they produce more, all of a sudden, profits fall. The prices they charge Go up or down? Down. How about profits? They go down, but your costs remain the same. The cost to produce the good remains the same. So you still have the same cost. And almost everybody who entered the market had to borrow money. If your profits go down, you still got to pay back your debts. Profits might go down today, but you got to pay your debts tomorrow. Have no choice. All those coffee shops, all of them borrowed money. They all borrow the money. And now they got to pay it back. So what do if prices are dropping? Profits are dropping because of oversupply. And you got to pay, you got to make payroll next week. You got to pay your debts next week. What do you do? So you got to sell, right? You got to sell more. Here is the big problem. It's overproduction. But what does everybody do when prices are dropping in this way? They produce more. Every single time they produce more. Which does what? What does that do to prices? Oh, there's them again. Every time. Okay, if I sell just a few more items, or I cut my price to sell some more, they're trying to pay back their debts. And if everyone does it, and this is where we get what seems like a contradiction, but it happens every time. Remember the speculative bubble or the speculation? This is when you start a speculative bubble, and it happens every time. Now, it might seem counterintuitive. Why would people start speculating more in like real estate or stocks if profits are dropping? Think of it this way. Just imagine profits are dropping. And so you're not making as much money as you did from that source. Make up the difference by speculating. Catch what I just did there? So people try to make up the difference. I'm not making as much here, I'll make it here. And so at first everyone's like, yeah, we'll go start buying real estate. So you start seeing a massive like real estate bubble in the United States in 1927. Exploding. Yes. Yeah. They have a lot of very valuable things. Yeah. That's part of their kind of monopoly. Yeah.
That's McDonald's makes there's all of their profits specifically.
And not, they don't make all of it, but that and selling franchises, yeah. Yeah, they make a lot. And they're the supplier of last resort, the supplier of everybody. So let's get to this next thing. Now we get to the big. If prices keep dropping and profits drop, that is where you get the cutbacks. Companies have to start cutting back. So what does cutting back mean? You cut back production. Maybe you close some facilities. You need as many workers. So what happens to unemployment? Unemployment begins to do what? Go on. And here's the biggie. What happens to demand? Demand for goods. Does demand go up or down if there's more unemployment? Think about it for a second. There's more unemployment. That means people have less money because there are now more people out of work. What happens to overall demand in the country? Begins to drop. And if demand drops, companies have to do what? More companies. And that's the cycle. That's where you get the two things. You get this overproduction and then cutback. And that's when you get a recession. That's the recession. So in 1928, the recession began. The economy began to shrink. But it wasn't until 1929 that the panic came. The recession in your lifetime began. How many were born in 2007 again? Yeah, 2007. But the financial panic was 2008. What's the last thing to happen? Remember the bubble? The bubble bursts. All of a sudden now, the bubble burst. I just put a line through it. Stock prices drop, people couldn't pay back their loans, bank panic, and that's where you get the bust. And that is the boom bust cycle. The beginnings of it. But let's do this really quick. What happened to profits in a bust then? But it's quick, right? Profits go up or down in a bust? Down. How about production? Supply? Up or down? How about wages? Down. How about unemployment? Up. How about credit? Banks don't want to loan money. If you bank survive, would you want to loan? You trust anybody, would you? It's called a credit freeze. How about speculation? Down. How about the mood? Let me give you one word for the mood. Doom. It goes from this euphoria in a bus to we're all gonna die. And people begin to lose faith in the system. They begin to lose faith in the government. They begin to lose faith in society. This is when revolutions. Yeah. Here's the problem. Yeah, they do, and I'll tell you how a little bit later on, but there are ways to make the boom not so boomy. Here's the problem, though. This is really hard to figure out. Is it just a small little downturn, or is it the bus? And people begin to lose, no one loans any money to anybody, no one trusts anybody. Let me ask, last thing for today, last thing. Everyone look at this curve, right? Last two things. This is called a deflationary curve. Deflationary curve means prices are downward. I know as a consumer, prices dropping might seem good, but that's the end of the economy. That's what you're doing. Adolf Hitler took power with a party that looked like it was dead, ruined, because of the disastrous Great Depression in Germany. But let's get back to this. Last thing, look at this right here. In your graph. What gets the country out? Better case. What is more important? Would it be better to start supplying more goods, get production up, or get demand from this? What gets the country out of it is something has to stimulate demand. And the problem is, who wants to buy stuff in bad times? So we have a little bit left to finish tomorrow after we have assembly, we have assembly, we have really short periods, because also have those, you have the, so it's gonna be kind of like the Monday. And what's the test? You guys have to do a test third period? Goodbye, everybody. So when's the quiz? Thursday. Pretty good drawing of the boom bust socket. That is actually some pretty big economics. That's real economics. And now we're watching a forum movie in special topics. I like this change. Gonna get a publication.
But you take the bottom off, and then it's like a sand. Peel the bottom off, put it over the top. It's not like it's thick is good, but it's just like really much. I think so usually less rich.
So you can't just get like a on the white fields.
Well, it is usually it's not more crossing.
I got an idea. You bring a really good cupcake, a really good cake, and we'll compare.
Cheesecake, strawberry cheesecake.
No, that's not because you don't make a cupcake out of cheesecake. Well, you can bring a cheesecake and nothing. See you tomorrow, everybody. See ya.